the most dangerous leaders that ever lived. Throughout history, leaders have risen to power who used their authority not for progress, but to unleash destruction, fear, and death. These men stand as stark reminders of how absolute power can corrupt absolutely. In this video, we uncover some of the most dangerous leaders who ever lived, those whose names are forever associated with bloodshed and tyranny. 1. Adolf Hitler, Germany. Adolf Hitler, the dictator of Nazi Germany from 1933 to 1945, is perhaps the most infamous figure in modern history. He ignited the Second World War, a global conflict that claimed over 70 million lives. But his deadliest legacy is the Holocaust, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, alongside millions of Slavs, Romani people, disabled individuals, and political dissidents. Under Hitler, genocide became industrialized, with over 42,000 camps and ghettos across occupied Europe. His obsession with racial purity and territorial expansion turned Germany into a war machine, and Europe into a graveyard. Even in defeat, he left his nation in ruins, his ideology a permanent scar on humanity. 2. Joseph Stalin, Soviet Union. Joseph Stalin, ruler of the Soviet Union from the 1920s until his death in 1953, maintained power through terror. His collectivization policies in the early 1930s caused the Holodomor, a man-made famine in Ukraine that killed millions. Stalin's Great Purge saw hundreds of thousands executed, and millions more imprisoned in gulags under inhumane conditions. Historians estimate that up to 20 million people died as a direct or indirect result of his rule. What made Stalin particularly dangerous was his paranoia. He ordered purges even within his own party, ensuring that no one was safe from suspicion. His regime shows how fear itself can be weaponized into a tool of absolute control. 3. Mao Zedong, China. Mao Zedong, founder of the People's Republic of China, is responsible for policies that caused one of the deadliest episodes in human history. His Great Leap Forward, 1958 to 1962, aimed to modernize China's economy but instead triggered widespread famine, killing between 30 to 45 million people. Mao followed this with the Cultural Revolution, which targeted intellectuals, religious groups, and perceived enemies of the state. Millions more were humiliated, tortured, or killed. While he remains a symbol of revolution to some, Mao's legacy is written in mass starvation and political violence on an unimaginable scale. 4. King Leopold II, Belgium, Congo Free State. Between 1885 and 1908, King Leopold II of Belgium personally owned and ruled the Congo Free State as his private colony. In pursuit of rubber and ivory, his agents enforced quotas with horrific brutality. If villages failed, soldiers cut off their hands, mutilated them, or massacred entire communities. It is estimated that 10 million Congolese people died during Leopold's rule. The atrocities sparked international outrage, but only after decades of suffering. Leopold presented himself in Europe as a philanthropist while his regime in Africa was one of the most exploitative and murderous in history. 5. Pol Pot, Cambodia. Pol Pot led the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia from 1975 to 1979. Obsessed with creating a classless agrarian society, he emptied cities and forced millions into collective farms. Intellectuals, professionals, and anyone suspected of dissent were executed. Even wearing glasses could mark someone as an enemy. Nearly 2 million Cambodians, about a quarter of the population, died from execution, starvation, and forced labor. The mass graves, known as the killing fields, remain a chilling symbol of how ideology, when taken to extremes, can wipe out a nation's future. 6. Mengistu Haile Mariam, Ethiopia. Mengistu Haile Mariam seized power in Ethiopia in 1977 and unleashed a campaign of terror against his opponents. His Red Terror targeted suspected critics, with tens of thousands executed and their bodies left in the streets as warnings. His government's mishandling of agriculture and deliberate policies during the devastating 1983 to 1985 famine contributed to the deaths of up to 2 million Ethiopians. Even after being deposed in 1991, Mengistu evaded justice for years, though he was eventually convicted of genocide in absentia. 7. Benito Mussolini, Italy. Benito Mussolini, the founder of fascism, ruled Italy from 1922 to 1943. His aggressive expansionist policies, including invasions of Ethiopia and Albania, paved the way for Italy's disastrous role in World War II as Hitler's ally. Mussolini's regime killed tens of thousands, suppressed dissent, and normalized political violence. Though his death toll does not rival Hitler's or Stalin's, Mussolini's ideology of fascism directly inspired regimes that caused catastrophic wars and genocides in the 20th century. 8. Hideki Tojo, Japan. As Prime Minister of Japan during World War II, Hideki Tojo was one of the architects of Japanese militarism. He authorized the attack on Pearl Harbor and oversaw brutal campaigns across Asia. Under his leadership, Japanese forces committed atrocities such as the Nanking Massacre, where hundreds of thousands were killed and tens of thousands of women raped. Millions of civilians and prisoners of war perished due to forced labor, starvation, and inhumane treatment. Tojo was executed after the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal, but his legacy remains tied to Japan's darkest chapter. 9. Idi Amin, Uganda. Idi Amin, who ruled Uganda from 1971 to 1979, became notorious for his brutality and erratic rule. His reign of terror included mass killings of ethnic groups, expulsion of Asians, and the deaths of an estimated 300,000 people. Amin also used torture and repression to eliminate opposition. He styled himself as a larger-than-life figure but left behind an impoverished, terrorized nation. His rule stands as a warning of how personal greed and cruelty can devastate an entire country. 10. Saddam Hussein, Iraq. Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq from 1979 to 2003 with an iron fist. He crushed dissent with mass executions and used chemical weapons against his own people, most notoriously in the Halabja attack of 1988 that killed thousands of Kurdish civilians. He launched wars against Iran and Kuwait that cost millions of lives and destabilized the Middle East. While he presented himself as a strongman, his legacy is one of oppression, war, and brutality. Other dangerous leaders with terrifying names. History is full of names that strike fear. Ante Pavlik of Croatia's Ustase, whose fascist regime ran death camps during World War II. Hissène Habré of Chad, nicknamed the African Pinochet, responsible for tens of thousands of killings. Robert Mugabe, once hailed as a liberator of Zimbabwe, who descended into tyranny and economic ruin. Joseph Kony, warlord of the Lord's Resistance Army, infamous for abducting children and forcing them into combat or slavery. Charles Taylor of Liberia. He is infamous for being one of West Africa's most dangerous warlords. Each represents a grim truth: when unchecked, power can destroy nations from within. What makes these leaders so dangerous is not just their cruelty, but their ability to transform entire states into machines of death. Whether through genocide, famine, war, or terror, they shaped the 20th and 21st centuries with devastation. Remembering them is not about glorification, it is about warning. The past teaches us what happens when leaders are allowed to rule without accountability, when ideology trumps humanity, and when fear replaces freedom. So, which of these leaders shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more hidden truths on uncovering facts.